Okay, at 6 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll call Superintendent Dittburner up here. We have a little proclamation for the school district, New Prague High School class of 2022. And I just want to say that, since you've been superintendent, we've had a very good working relationship between the district and the city, which is much appreciated. We haven't always had that. And we've done this always past years. We've always recognized the classes. And this year, we thought it would be nice to get you in here to accept it. So with that, I proclaim the New Prague High School class of 2022, whereas the New Prague High School seniors class of 2022 have exhibited incredible strength, resiliency, and Trojan pride, and whereas families, friends, neighbors, and educators should encourage everyone to focus on the abilities of all young people and honor their hard work, and whereas our students represent a bright future and will continue along the path of service and leadership in our community and nation. And whereas we encourage all citizens to support the opportunities for the graduating seniors in our community, including military service, higher education, trades, and employment. And whereas the community of New Prague congratulates all the students who will continue to influence us long after their school days have become memories, helping to shape the future of New Prague, the state of Minnesota, and the world. Now therefore, I, Dwayne Jurek, Mayor of the City of New Prague, do hereby proclaim Friday, May 27th, 2022 to be the New Prague High School senior class of 2022 day.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I just want to say a couple words here. First, we take great pride, and it's a priority to have a strong relationship with the city of New Prague, and it's been the last nine years working with council, working with staff. It's been a pleasure, and I think we've gotten a lot of things done working together. And this is our first senior class, the class of 2022 that the last couple of years, it hasn't been normal. This year they've been in person every day. I can't say it's been a normal year either, but no, we're proud of them, and we're hoping for some sunshine a week from Friday and have our commencement ceremony at Trojan Stadium. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then secondly, we're going to give the oath to our new police officer. Mr. Miller, you want to come up front? So just repeat after me. Let's raise our right hands. I, Kyle Miller,
I, Kyle Miller,
on my honor, will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will uphold the United States Constitution, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota and its laws. I will uphold the ordinances of the City of New Prague, and I will faithfully serve my agency and community to the best of my abilities. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You going to pin this on him?
You want to introduce who's here?
Yes, please do.
Some of my family members are here. This is my wife, Ariel. That's my daughter, Quinn. My son, Harrison's playing on the ground.
Okay.
That's my mother. My father is currently fishing. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and my grandparents over there.
Great.
Fantastic. Very nice.
Montgomery.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, even better. Here.
Stand on that.
You don't want to?
You don't wanna stand on it? Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Remember the holes? Well, first of all. All right. Okay. Oh, geez, you do it.
I did have it somewhere open. Maybe I closed it. Good.
Okay. Okay. All right. You don't want to do it? Oh, God. You're welcome.
Yeah. Congratulations again. Thanks.
If you want.
Yep. Why don't we sign it? Thanks for coming. Support to the family is very important in this job, so. Thanks.
Everybody?
Okay, with that, we just have to approve the consent agenda, or approve the agenda, but we have one addition.
Okay,
Add the board appointments under general business. That didn't get put on there, so
you want to put on the,
general business on under number 12, like,
oh, can we, make it, A, B, C, D, G, H?
Be 12H.
yeah, 12H.
And then, I'll move to, approve the agenda with, changing, the police officer oath, from 12A to, 1C.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the agenda with the amendments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, next up is the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions on that? Otherwise, I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, presentation of Main Street ADA Award.
Wasn't quite sure how exactly to do this. First, I'll mention that there was an application submitted for an ADA, American Disabilities Act Award for the Main Street project for the work that was done on that. And it received an award by the Concrete Paving Association of Minnesota. And I'm gonna give a lot of credit to my colleague, Chris Knutson. Some of you have had a chance to meet him. He was actually a key designer on the ADA, all the sidewalk designs, grades, et cetera, through the downtown. So actually, I'm gonna turn it to him to actually present it, so I'm gonna give a lot of the credit to him, so.
All right, thanks, Chris. Yeah, again, my name is Chris Knutson, and I was the lead designer on the sidewalk and highway job on Main Street, Highway 19, that was constructed over the last 2 summers. Definitely a lot of time on that, hundreds and hundreds of hours on my part looking at models, and it was great seeing it come to fruition. And I think it's going to be a great project for the city of New Prague, and I do want to present this award. And thank you for the opportunity to work on the project, because it's great seeing how it turned out.
Great, thank you. Why don't, then we can get a council picture, how's that? You wanna take a picture of the council together? With the award? Come up here, Chris.
When do you want us to?
There, you wanna come? I thought stay here, what do you wanna do?
Oh, you want everybody in?
Yep,
Let's have everybody down here.
Okay then, sorry.
Can you do it, Rick?
No, that's, I don't wanna be in.
Yeah, you take it, Mayor, that's fine.
Okay, let's,
Yes.
yeah, let's go. Sorry. Rick,
That's all right, it doesn't need to be a whole council.
No, no, we'll let the mayor do it. I think Rick didn't want to be in it, and I didn't.
Heard it now.
Oh,
It gets me hurt.
Sit up straight.
You stand over here. My goodness.
There we go.
Come on, look up, Rick.
Okay. Rick, look,
Come on.
look nice, don't look up. 1, 2, 3. Come on, Rick.
Pat, take the picture.
Look this way. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay.
No.
Okay, next on the agenda is to introduce Chris Knutson.
Yeah, so I did want to formally introduce Chris Knutson because this is part of the 2023 agenda item. So I did get a chance to introduce him to a few of you here before the meeting, but Chris Knutson, we're proposing to be the project manager on the 2023 project. But I basically want to point out, and I'll let him give him a little more introduction of himself, but he's been around the city of New Prague on projects as long as I have. Number of years back, again, key designer on the Main Street project. He's lead designer on the Columbus Avenue and proposing to do the construction administration on the this year's Columbus Avenue project as well. Reason I bring that up is I'm not going anywhere, but I am looking to trim back to part-time this summer and continue to be around to close up Main Street, to work on other projects. But day-to-day operations, transfer over to Chris, and Chris is familiar with staff, et cetera. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris to give a little more introduction of himself, and then since he will be the project manager on the 2023 project, I'll have him introduce the agenda report and the proposal that's before you tonight.
Thanks again, Chris. Yeah, as Chris said, I've been with SCH for 15 years, May 16th of 2007, so exactly 15 years to the day. I've been working on projects in New Prague since 2009. Pretty much every street project that's happened since that time, I've either been the lead designer on or have supervised and reviewed the designs. And so I've been pretty much part of a lot of projects in town. Highway 19, the Highway 19 trail, going west of town as well. And I also was the senior engineer on the Columbus project that's going to construction this summer. You know, I've got a lot of history with the city of New Prague. I live in southern Lucerne County, over by just south of Kasota. Been in this area for quite a few years here. Went to college at Mankato, Minnesota State. So I've definitely enjoyed working in the region and being around here. So hoping to kind of fill his shoes a little bit, which is some pretty big shoes, but I think I've learned from him quite a bit, and I think I can bring quite a bit of history to the city of New Prague. Moving into the other reasons we're here today, if you want to move to that
Yep, go ahead.
memo right away here. So what you do have in front of you here today is a memorandum on the 2023 to 2025 projects. In 2009, SEH put together a capital improvements plan and outlined improvements that were needed in the city of New Prague. That was updated in 2015, and this map that's in front of you, this color map, is what was prepared at that time. The years have changed since 2015 to today as far as when the construction is going to occur, but we are now looking at these areas, which is generally just east of Columbus Avenue North, or this year's project, going east towards Sunrise Avenue. What we are looking at doing is rewriting this entire project area and looking at how to prepare the first project we're calling phase 1, which would be on the east side of the project. On this map, it'd be from right to left. The green streets on here, so that'd be Sunrise Avenue, Sunset Avenue, First Street Northeast, the last block on the east end, Second Street Northeast as well on the east end. So that's the first phase of the project, but as I said, we do want to look at the entire project area, the 2023 to 2025 projects as been identified, which is basically the last portion of that capital improvements plan. You've completed a lot of street projects over the last 13 years since that capital improvements plan was put together. This map pretty much shows what's left, and after that, there aren't any significant reconstructions that have been identified within town. So once that's taken care of, you'll be looking more at maintenance type improvements in the future. So what we have put together is a proposal to look at those areas, but I want to talk about some of the key items or key dates that would be part of putting together this study. So with past projects, we've been doing feasibility reports. That's kind of the standard step, but with today's date being May 16th, that's kind of what we're bringing forward to you today, is the ordering of a feasibility report. As we work forward, we do have a lot of public involvement steps, neighborhood meetings, going to public hearings. Those would be conducted in the summer. There's also some field survey, topographic survey, talking to people in the neighborhood and getting their input on the project, and then putting that all towards a feasibility report that would be presented in September. We're calling that the feasibility phase. We do also have some, we do want to take a look at the entire area because it is one large neighborhood, and we don't want to just take a small portion of that because we do believe that they all need to be looked at together for the utility coordination, sanitary sewer, water main, storm sewer. Some things are going to be possibly redirected, and we will be looking at that at the entire area. So what I do have for you today is a resolution ordering the preparation of a report based on the scope of improvements as I described. And that should be included in your packet.
Any questions?
I see it. Oh, go ahead. No.
I have a couple, and thanks that you have the same first name, so it's easy just to remember Chris
Yes.
and Chris. So the bottom of the memo talks about the description of the streets and whatnot.
Yes.
When you mention coordination of the years and things, some of this might change then? Is that how I would understand it? I guess I'm wondering, or just to be educated, is there benefits, as an example, just to do First Street all at one time instead of spreading it out? Or is there a benefit on Second Street where I believe, aren't you burying the high wires there on Second Street, or?
Yeah, actually that's. We're trying to coordinate somewhat with their planning there, but for the most part, we can be independent of what they do in regards to that. So
Okay.
It doesn't really, the two don't necessarily have to coordinate together.
And then I'm just curious, is there a benefit of doing First Street all at one time instead of doing it in steps like that?
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of why we're looking at the entire area.
Okay.
If there was a change to phasing that made sense, we'd want to look at that for sure. During our preliminary review, it seemed like working from east to west, working in smaller chunks seemed to work best versus a one long linear project where you're starting at one end going all the way to the other end. And a lot of that has to do with, again, the utilities, and I believe the storm sewer is a big part of that, some storm sewer redirection. And so utilities tend to be a driver on a lot of our projects and where we start and end.
So this might be massaged a little bit and changed?
There could be a little bit of flexibility to that. And I say that, when we look at the feasibility report, what we have being ordered here today is identifying these streets. And so this would be our current project area or phase 1. If there's a change to that, I believe we would have to do some sort of an action to add them to the feasibility report. But the feasibility report, as we're going to be proposing on here today, is only going to be for these streets listed as 1 through 6, Sunrise Avenue, Sunset Avenue, First Street, the East Block, Second Street, Third Street, and then First Street Southeast. So that is what we have in our feasibility report right now. As far as moving a little bit either direction, half a block, there may be some things that make sense to do that. I think that those green streets we're showing in the map, we identified First Street Northeast. Maybe we'll do another half block to the alley, because it makes sense from a utility point.
On the narrative, I think it describes Sunset to Third Street, but the map doesn't show that, does it?
Yeah, it does. Oh, on the narrative. So Sunset to, no, it doesn't.
Are they not agreeing with each other, or?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you are correct. I think it's the second, that must have been an error.
So,
Should be
second to third will not be done, or not considered?
That was rebuilt already years ago.
Correct, yeah. Sunset Avenue would just be from Main Street up to Second Street Northeast.
Okay, so the narrative is just,
That's correct, yeah.
and so then that probably answers the Second Street between Sunset and Lexington. Was that fully reconstructed at one time? Or
Yeah, there's
recently?
that one gap in there that doesn't need any improvements, that one block between Lexington and Sunset Avenue. So that's a block that doesn't need any work at this time.
Kind of unusual that just that little.
It absolutely is, yeah, it's, and that's how we look at our work areas here. We are trying to complete things all together. There's a couple other stragglers. If you look at this with First Street Southeast, that's another block that was on its own, maybe omitted from a previous project. So that'd be south of Main Street. So I don't want to forget about that one south of Main Street there.
Yep.
And then we also have, in the future, a portion of Sixth Street, there's one block there. So it's not common to do one block at a time or have a little gap like that, but we do want to take care of those now and kind of get what's left over.
And Sunrise on Third Street, or east of Sunrise on Third Street, that was just an overlay?
Just an overlay, yep.
So that money's just kind of down the drain.
Well, we'd be looking at what improvements are needed on it, and so I think that was an emergency overlay, if I'm correct. It was not it's hard to say it's down the drain, so it was needed at the time.
Yeah.
And if a lesser improvement could be used on that street, I guess we would certainly consider that. I think
But it wasn't
Yeah, Third Street North.
reconstructed.
Sunrise, that happened in 2019, frost really beat up that street.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was never planned to be done until this project was done. Frost came out, we had frost boils everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was actually a change order in 2019, where the 2019 project, we added that overlay to it. And we actually notified all the residents in that time that this is a temporary Band-Aid, this is nothing that's gonna be a permanent fix. We went door to door and actually, left hangers at every resident. Every resident in that area understood that, hey, we understand you gotta do something, just to get it by for a few more years.
Weren't they supposed to be double assessed on that street?
I'm leaving that one alone.
First it's the side.
Or maybe you didn't get that in the mail yet.
No, I think
I just thought it was curious how his ended up first.
Yeah, I
The
don't
first
get
part
that
of that
well, I
project.
figured that one was gonna come up, not that one.
Thank you.
Of course.
I got a question. So I take it, now the streets are gonna be downsized a little bit.
Yeah,
I understand it, and I would hope that those trees on some of those streets could be saved because of that.
yeah. Whenever we look at projects, I always try to get input from Public Works. They're the ones that got to work around the trees, public utilities. If there's going to be something in the way that a tree can be in the way of a wire or a pipe or something like that, and we want to make sure those all get addressed. And so we'll be taking input from Public Works and Public Utilities and council as well. As far as street widths go, on the Main Street project, we did incorporate a little bit of a neck down at each of the intersections, assuming some changes would happen in the future. So yeah, there will be a narrowing, but I don't like taking trees down more than I have to, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah, I know, but it'd probably be easier to sell that narrowing of the street then, I think.
Sure.
The other thing, I know that Sunrise and Sunset have had water issues big time this last few years with main breaks, so that definitely needs reconstructing, so.
Yeah, and that also leads part of our prioritizing, trying
Yeah.
to get that towards the front end of the projects.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to accept resolution ordering the preparation of report.
I make a motion to approve the resolution 22-05-16-01.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made by Bruce, seconded by Sean to approve the resolution. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Okay.
Appreciate that. I do, as well as having that memo with the resolution, we do also have a
That's still in here.
proposal in front of you here today.
Yep.
And this proposal will be to approve SEH to complete the feasibility, the engineering study and feasibility report as it pertains to phase 1 or 2023 improvements on the map. And I'll just say those streets again here to be sure. Sunrise Avenue north from Main Street to 3rd Street, Sunset Avenue from Main Street to 2nd Street, 1st Street north from Sunset Avenue to Sunrise Avenue, 2nd Street northeast from Sunset Avenue to Sunrise Avenue, 3rd Street northeast from Sunrise Avenue to 10th Avenue northeast, and then 1st Street from Lexington Avenue south to 7th Street southeast. So this would be to complete our engineering review of the entire project area, but then focusing more on the feasibility study towards that first project. Project 1 or 2023 as we've identified.
And the fee is $61,300?
Correct. So, yep, and that is an hourly not to exceed fee. This includes our topographic survey, which is about 1/3 of that cost, and then the rest would be mostly the report.
So the bid won't change even though the descriptor was wrong by a block?
Correct. We've been looking at the map for, the description was off, but the map is what we've been following.
Okay, so that extra block wasn't taken into account in this bid?
Correct.
It's
Yeah,
not-
the extra
It's not
block
based
for-
on a linear foot or something or
No,
whatever?
no,
Okay.
when we look at our projects, we look at how long we expect everything to take. And,
Okay.
we look at every project, separately that way.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to approve the contract.
I make a motion to approve the contract subject to the typo correction on the first page then. And authorize the city administrator and the mayor to execute the contract on behalf of the city.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion, opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
All right, appreciate everyone.
Thank you, and nice meeting you.
Yep, we'll be seeing each other quite a bit more often here. So.
Okay, public hearing, the Rosemont and Praha Village project proposal for host approval of issuance of conduit bonds, so. We have,
We're not gonna do the public invited to hear? I didn't know. if
oh, I'm sorry, I missed
Number
that.
7.
I missed that, thank you. Is there anybody from the public that wants to speak to the council tonight? Other than what's on the agenda? Anybody? All right, thanks, Sean, I looked right over that. Okay, so there's a public hearing, so, let's see. So I gotta open it first, right? Correct, okay, so, I read it, and then I'll open this public hearing. And, is there anybody that will speak to this?
Yes, I think Robin could give a brief
Okay,
update on this.
And we do have, as one of our guests here today, Jeff King from Cassia, so he can answer any questions as well. So Praha Village in town here is being acquired by Cassia. So in order for that to go through, Cassia is working with the cities of Hampton and Landfall Village for issuance of conduit revenue bonds. Since Praha Village is located in New Prague, the city of New Prague needs to give consent for Hampton and Landfall Village to issue bonds for the project held within New Prague.
okay. So,
Can we get a little more
yeah,
explanation
can you,
there? I just wanna understand.
executive summary?
Yes, so I think that's what Jeff is here for. As the ones who are doing the project in town, I asked that they have someone here that could actually speak to it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Just
Hi.
state your name and,
Jeff King,
okay?
Vice President of Finance at Cassia. So we're looking to purchase the facility in New Prague and also the one in Rosemont, made up of independent assisted and memory care units, and looking to do that through tax-exempt financing, like Robin stated. Since the project is located in New Prague, we need to ask New Prague for permission as a host city. They're using some of their, every city has $10 million that they can use for tax-exempt financing, and the city of New Prague is going to hold that because you have some projects you want to use for that. So we're going outside of the city, just looking for the city to grant us host approval and joint powers with that.
So I think the idea is the fact that bonding is being used within city limits but is not tied to the city. The state requires that you as a council actually approve that they can go forward with this. It's not something that, because they believe they're using the cities of Hampton and Landfall Village, they're getting all their bonding through under those two cities' names. It's just happening within our city limits. And so, like I said, the state requires that we approve that they can go forward in this manner.
Is there any downside? I mean, does it go against our credit rating or our?
No, not to us. It would be a little bit different maybe if we were actually acting as one of the hosts for the bonds, such as the other two cities are. But in this instance, there's really not one way or the other that it affects us, other than it's happening within our city limits.
Well, if we go to bond anything else, we had a list of bonds that we have, and is he gonna be counted as a bond to New Prague, or?
No, so these bonds will be counted against Hampton and Landfall Village. And
So why do we gotta approve it?
So I mean, in full discretion, they did come to us and ask, and we just couldn't work out an administrative fee, an agreement on that, knowing that we would have future work on that bonding. And so that's where the other two cities kind of came into play with this one. And so it would not show up on our bond records because it's not one of our bonds that we would carry into the future.
Mm-hmm.
So in your view, there's no downside for the city of New Prague?
Not at this point, no.
Well, what do you mean at this point? I mean,
No, I'm saying, yeah, because our name is not attached to it, there is no downside to us.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
I have never done anything like this. We actually talked with our Baker Tilly quite a bit about this, kind of working out kind of what the pros and cons were, and that's where we started negotiating a potential fee if we were going to be involved with putting our name on it. Because would we have done that? From what it sounds like, there wouldn't have been any liability to us, but we would have had administrative reporting work for the next 10, 15, 20 years, as well as potential legal bills. But because we aren't having our name attached to any of these bonds, there is no downside to us approving this. We're allowing the bonding of other cities to happen within the city of New Prague.
And this goes back to state law? Did I hear somebody?
Yes, and yeah, that's
state law states that New Prague has to approve this because we're
hosting.
Because it is within our city limits that the whole project is happening.
Bruce, you got any input on this?
Not a lot.
No, this was something that was new to myself and Robin 2 months ago or 3 months or whenever these conversations kind of first started in the background.
Do we need to run it by our city attorney or anything?
And that's where we kind of have a little bit already, and if we would have gotten more intimately involved, we would have wanted to run everything by our attorney in the bonding, but because our name is not attached to any of the bonding, there's really no need for us to run that through. It's really just from what I can tell, they're taking out a loan through the city of Hamptons and the city of Landfall Village. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. There's no liability to the cities, even to the city of Hampton or city of Landfall Village. It's conduit financing, so this is just a mechanism for our organization to get the bonds issued.
Well, I guess I do have a couple questions. So Jeff, the tax capacity of the two cities is enough to cover the bonds that you're doing? That is it 10 million, 10 million? You'd be under the 20 million?
Well, the bonds, through the city of Hampton are greater than that, but it's the 10 million, that, we need for the sub-debt through the tax-exempt bond financing.
Right, so there's only $20 million of tax-exempt
Right.
financing in this package, and the package is greater than that,
Correct.
which is expected. Rosemont is much, I think, bigger than New Prague, I think, isn't it? The Rosemont
From the
Facility.
size and
facility size?
value?
They're very similar for the facilities as, they all both have, mid-90s number of units, so. But each city has the capacity for 10 million, there. And then the bonds that are being issued through Hampton are a lot greater than the 10 million. It's the bank qualified component that
Right.
each have the $10 million.
Right, right. The joint powers agreement, is that being reviewed by our attorney?
Did we run that by, you remember?
I did not send that to them. As Josh spoke to, we talked with Doug Green from Baker Tilly about this. It's common that folks are gonna be looking for that tax exempt financing. So for something like this to occur isn't out of the ordinary in what they see in their work. Legal through Cassia, Taft drafted a letter explaining the process and outlining the different statutes. So we did not run it by Kennedy and Graven, just with oversight from bond counsel and legal involved on their end, so.
When you say bond counsel, we didn't refer to any bond counsel.
No, but like our municipal advisors.
Yeah, our advisors. But legally, I guess I'd be more comfortable if our attorney would look at it to make sure there's no liability or any issues or responsibilities that the city has, because for us anyway, this is not a common thing. Matter of fact, I've never heard of New Prague doing it before.
I agree.
So it's just new to us, and I'm not saying we shouldn't approve it, but we should approve it just subject to.
Subject to, yeah.
That there isn't any responsibilities, because the other thing I'm trying to remember is when the package was put together, was there any kind of incentives, or was there any kind of assessment deferment or anything we gave to the project?
The previous owner. Can you recall? Was there anything that?
Yeah, I forget if it was TIF for tax payment, but yes, we did have that, and that was in exchange for some units to be available for low to moderate income people.
So I guess
that was required by state, though. That wasn't something they did for our behalf, right?
No, we requested it in order to get them their, I forget if it was tax payment or TIF.
Oh, okay.
Well, they wanted it, and we requested it.
Correct.
But we'll go ahead. What happens to that under this arrangement after the sale? What happens to the funds that we have? I think we have some money set aside, or we receive some inkling of payment, some small amount every year, I think.
Yeah, I think it was TIF, and I think we just retain obviously the pre-development amount, and then the increment above that is what was being, given back through that incentive to the previous owner, obviously, which would be changing hands here.
So I guess that's the gymnastics that I just don't understand, and not that we're missing anything here. I'm not suggesting that, but just to understand, I think the TIF was a pay-as-you-go. So
yes.
How does that pay-as-you-go thing work if the property is closed? Jeff, when do you anticipate closing?
Probably late summer, early fall.
So it's what happened this year. So how does that TIF get reconciled? Because we have a responsibility for that TIF, or we're a party to that TIF rather. And does that our responsibility go further? It's that pay as you go, so I think there's a way to cut it off, but I don't know how that works. But if we would have paid it all up front, we have a problem, but we didn't.
Yeah, we'll continue to have units available for low-income housing as well.
Right. Yeah, and we won't be involved in any of that. I don't think are you doing a similar TIF through this project?
We're not doing a TIF.
Okay.
We may have the ability to,
I would assume to maintain the TIF, you
Maintain
need to
it.
continue to honor the, provisions of that TIF.
Are we maintaining the TIF, or is it being,
I guess I don't know the answer to that.
you're not assuming that, I wouldn't think, are you?
I'm not sure at this point, but there's been talk about the TIF coming. We would continue to have the TIF because we were providing low-income housing.
Okay. So then I guess we are a party to that agreement, aren't we?
That's in existence.
So I guess there is some issues there that we would have to make sure that.
But we have to have that low-income housing as part of the TIF. That's required by the US government, right? Or that gives us the
That was
ability
one of the
to.
negotiated parts of the agreement with the city, was that in exchange for the TIF, you guys as a council and a governing body required the 20% of the particular units to have that.
No, but
moderate
so that wasn't a state statute that requires that, or a federal one?
I don't recall. I was not intimately involved in that, so I'd have to.
I could have swore that it was required of us, or that's the way it was
Presented.
You could be
presented
correct.
to us. Okay.
Well, the state only allows certain things that qualify for TIF, and under the state of Minnesota, this was one thing that qualified.
With 20% of the units being.
Whatever that number was.
Well, the TIF was actually for land preparation.
Yep.
They had some poor soils and things like that that had to be remediated. So it was really, the TIF was covering that. And then obviously spread out. I think they went the full maximum state allowed term for that TIF. But you would have to dig that agreement up and see what we had in there.
Well, it's part of it now, so I could be wrong too, but, so I'd have to agree with Bruce. I'd like to have our legal look at it, and would Cassia be opposed to paying those legal fees if we have to sign off on it? I can't assume that it would be a lot, but I don't know why the city of New Prague, just to get a better handle and an understanding of this. And then could you explain just why we're the host again? I just want to make sure I get that part right too.
Because one of the projects is located in New Prague.
Okay,
So that's called a host city. Since we're getting financing outside of the city, that's why the New Prague is the host.
okay, all right, just because you're buying this property.
Right.
Okay, all right.
I would like to, legal to also look to see if there's any other obligations we have, that they have to us.
Yep.
Cause I do know that water content level was high, and I wanna know if they've fulfilled all their responsibilities, with all of that, and, yeah, I don't remember whether it was 20 units or 15 units, but.
I think it was 18 or 19, but yeah.
Yep.
But that was a good catch, though,
And-
yes, because they were supposed to
Yeah.
come back. Yeah.
And do we wanna go through the procedure of tabling this, or do you wanna just pull it? Because if we table it, then we'll have to go through the pulling it from the table and the procedure there, if you wanna do it that way. But it would be nice if we get legal in on this. I would prefer not vote on it tonight.
I mean, if that's the case, tabling it or continuing it to the next meeting should be fine. I mean, I can get legal on it tomorrow.
I think continue what?
Yeah, it just kind of came out of, this is new to me, and I just want to make sure I understand it completely and what all the ramifications are. And even to Bruce's point, it's not that I'm against it. I think I don't want to sound like we're thinking somebody's trying to pull the wool over our eyes, but I just want to get a better handle from. And then I'd make sure Cassia pays the legal review, so we have a better understanding, and not the city or the residents of New Prague, so.
Jeff, what were the anticipated next steps for timing if this doesn't come back until 2 more weeks?
2 more weeks, the next council meeting is 2 more weeks. I think we could live with that, but, yeah. I think I can come back in 2 weeks.
I would think you would want that anyway, because you want a clean deed, so.
Yeah, this is
Make
just,
sure it's clean.
yeah, and it will be. This is just for the financing component of what we're asking for. Again, conduit financing through the city. City's not on the hook for anything. Just looking for New Prague to be the whole city, joint powers, so we can go out and get that financing to purchase those 2 properties.
Okay.
Understand.
And I'm not doubting your law firm that put that together, but I'd still like to hear it from ours.
Or your integrity, for that matter. We just wanna make sure we're checked.
My understanding, Jeff, is that we're just wanna get, legal review for anything that the city is gonna be signing or executing, and then also an understanding of what the TIF responsibilities,
It's probably
are
more
they
than-
transferring, and if they are, what is our responsibilities, how does that work?
Yeah, so I guess need a vote from you guys to continue it to the next meeting.
I'll make that motion that we continue until the next meeting.
Okay, there's been a motion by Sean, seconded by Rick, to continue this matter to the next city council meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Then I also need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right,
When's the next meeting?
it will be,
First Monday in June.
yeah, June, I think is that the 4th?
6th,
The 6th?
June 6th,
Okay.
at 6.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the resolution appointing election judges for the Congressional District 1 special election and setting their pay.
I will take that one. So as you are aware, for those of you that live in the Sewer County side anyway, we do have a congressional special election for District 1, the seat that was vacated by Mr. Hagedorn passing away. So we have to appoint our judges by resolution, and since we did not obviously plan on having this special election, we actually had to pick from judges that had gone through the training for the 2020 election. So kind of a limited number, but we did find enough judges to go through the special election next week. And it's half of the number of people we normally would have appointed, because we only have one precinct for running. Looking to set their pay at $13 an hour, which is what we had budgeted for their pay to be for the primary and general election later in the year, and then $15 an hour for the head judge on the precinct for the election next week. So this resolution would appoint the judges which are included on the resolution, and then we have a few alternate or additional judges that, if for whatever reason we have people out, and we kind of went through this when we had COVID, and there's still COVID out there, so some alternates that have already gone through the training as well. So just looking for approval of the resolution here tonight, and then just as a reminder, general election information. The primary election is on Tuesday, August 9th. The general election is on Tuesday, November 8th. And we obviously have new judges will be recruiting and getting through training for that primary and general election. And then finally, if you're interested in filing for mayor or the council seats, those will open on Tuesday, August 2nd, and will close at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, August 16th. So just so you're aware of the timeline for that as well.
Okay. So who would like to offer the motion to approve the
Make
judges?
the resolution 2205-1603, appointing election judges for the Congressional District 1 special election, setting their pay.
Second.
There's been a motion by Rick, seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next is approving a master partnership contract between New Prague and Mndot.
Yes, I will take that one. The contract before you was last brought before the council in August of 2017. This is kind of a master partnership agreement that sets a kind of a blanket agreement for things that go on between the city and Mndot, such as small amounts of maintenance along the highways, mowing, that sort of thing. It also lays out requirements for both Mndot and New Prague should any larger work need to get done, such as how the permitting process is going to take place and that sort of thing. So, as I stated in the memo, this agreement has been signed every 5 years for a number of years, and due to the old contract expiring in July, that's why it's before us again.
Okay.
So,
Is this snow removal too, also? Or is that a different? That's separate, okay.
Is there any changes to the agreement?
not that I could find.
Okay. Any questions? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Rick made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
and Sean made the second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, approve the hire, now we're in general business. Approve the hiring of, is it Kira?
Kira.
Kira Chapman as planner.
Yes, I have just a brief background on Ms. Chapman. So we did have 5 applications that we did receive after position was posted for the planner position on March 15th, 2022. We interviewed 3 of the candidates. Seeing as though we were kind of looking at hiring on the lower end of the pay scale here, obviously our applicants by and large were fresh out of college or very fresh out of college with little experience, which is what we were again going for. So we have Ms. Kira J. Chapman that we are recommending to be hired. The starting date of Tuesday, May 31st, 2022, and to be at pay grade 12, step 1 on our compensation plan. If you take a look at her education, she graduated summa cum laude from University of Minnesota Duluth with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Urban and Regional Studies and a minor in psychology. She has experience through her classwork and at the City of Duluth with GIS, planning, geography, advanced writing, field techniques, and research design. And she was most recently a parks planning intern for the City of Duluth, again doing a number of mapping projects among other public outreach and research and that type of work. Myself and Josh were on the interview panel, and we feel she will be a good asset to the City of New Prague Planning Department in that role of obviously being our key grant writer and doing quite a bit of research on the front end here as we get her into the fold. So our recommendation is to have her start, and again, that would be May 31st, 2022 for her first day.
Any questions? Otherwise, I'll make the motion to hire Ms. Chapman as planner position starting May 31st, 2022. Is there a second?
I'll second it. I'm interested in the psychology.
Yeah.
Sociology.
Sociology.
I thought you said psychology.
He did.
Did I?
Okay.
I apologize, sociology.
Psychology would be a little frightening. We'll be a sociologist.
We won't go there.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, prioritize visioning ideas. So it looks like we looking for dates to do that?
Looking for dates. I don't envision this meeting maybe taking quite as long as some of the other ones. Staff and I right now are working on kind of what we recommend as a prioritization of many and most or all of the ideas that we kind of wanted to advance forward. And so this meeting would be getting together just to kind of review those and are there any things that we see big, small, things we want to push off indefinitely or maybe pull up closer. So that is what we are looking for this meeting for.
Okay.
How are you guys looking on Monday, June 13th?
I don't know.
I won't be here.
Yeah,
You guys want it sooner than that?
no,
I
sooner.
support the idea of doing it in conjunction with a council meeting, but
I think,
that's been an issue sometimes. Or
what, can you get your list together?
Yep.
Give it to the council?
Yep.
And then maybe we could do it an hour ahead of the council meeting or
There you go.
something.
Yeah, we
With
could do
this. With
Yeah,
this.
we could, yeah, if you want to pick a council meeting, we can schedule it before and I can get you the guys list a few weeks out so you can really review it and, we can do that too.
I'd say maybe, I would be looking more like June 20th or something.
Why don't we just give Josh the flexibility if we have a light packet
Or that too.
1 week, just.
Yeah.
Add it to the end. And that might be easy too, yeah.
Yeah, I'd prefer the 6 o'clock start time instead of moving it up
Yep.
an hour to do.
Okay.
Is that the way the council wants to go then as a whole?
I'll agree to that.
Okay. Easy enough?
I think the hard work has been done, you know, and everybody's ideas got out and. Good.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing is IT consulting services agreement.
Yes, for the last couple of years, the city's been using CTS, or Computer Technology Solutions, to provide services. At the time it was agreed to at $9,930 per month. With this new they are proposing a rate increase up to $10,426.75. And ultimately, I had the math done, apparently not on this piece of paper. I think it comes out to right around 5 or 6% is what it ultimately comes out to. But if you look at that, that's over a 2.5-year period. So it comes out to be about 2.5% per year is what their proposed rate increase is looking at for this new contract. So I know going through the most recent risk assessment, which staff has seen bits and pieces of as they're putting together the final draft. True North State CTS has done a great job, in fact, with keeping the city secure internally and that sort of thing. And if we received any sort of demerits, some of them are kind of on the external side that maybe CTS wouldn't necessarily have control over. And so over the last couple of years, they've been doing a great job for the city in that manner. So I guess because of this, and because of the modest increase over the last couple of years, I would be recommending approval of continuing to use them as a IT consulting group.
How long does this contract run, the new one?
This particular contract doesn't have an end date on it. It just has a set date that if we want out, I believe it's 30-day notice, that we'd want out of the contract.
Well, what's gonna prevent them from coming 6 months from now and saying that instead of 10,400, it's 11,400?
Or, sorry, 60 days, now that I looked at it again. So nothing would necessarily prevent them from doing that, but they would have to once again get it approved since we'd be approved under this current rate. And so at that point, if we want it out, we could say, we do not want to go up on that. We would like to get out at this point.
I apologize, I have not read it that closely. What's the time frame that they have to give us then for a price increase?
So termination is 60 days in that.
Both sides?
Yes.
So they would actually have to terminate to make a price increase?
At the bottom of page 2, it says these rates are subject to change, subject to a 30-day written notice by the company. And so, assuming we wanted them to change, they'd give us a 30-day written notice, and we would give them
60 days.
60 days that we want out.
So they could institute a price increase without us getting out of it.
Were they the ones were they the ones, Ken, that we hired at first with this stuff?
For
the IT. Is that the one that I keep talking to on the phone to set up or to fix my?
Yes, it would be the firm you've been dealing with time to time.
Dead contracts, I don't know. 60 days, but we give them 30-day notice. So in all reality, they could hike up the price, and we'd turn around, give them the 30 days, but we'd have to pay the 30 days of whatever price they gave us?
Yeah, wouldn't it make more sense to have a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal, or with annual increases of 1.5 or something?
I suppose on our end, it probably would make more sense, only in that we would have a very set defined of when we'd be seeing price increases. I would guess from their end, they don't see it as that, because if something should happen, they want the ability to increase it. I would guess is why they did that.
I know when we got into it, it was intended to be more of an annual type review, so we just went through what's called a VCIO virtual, just forgot the acronym we just talked about this morning.
Chief Information Officer?
Chief Information Officer presentation at a staff level. There will be a presentation to the council of that and our IT risk assessment coming up here. But we've gone through, obviously just one in 2021, and they did not implement any increase at that time, just due to the COVID climate and still being relatively new with our providers. So, you know, they obviously had some costs that I think they could have implemented during that time, and they did not. And then also there's other costs that go up, you know, that are included in our VIP services, which just covers like, increases in Microsoft and their cost to CTS, which is then passed on to us, and they have not increased anything at this point, so, I think it's fair at this point that they have not, raised the cost, but I do understand where you're coming from. Obviously, if we have, you know, kind of an open-ended time period, and then, you know, at any point, you know, with that short notice, they could propose an increase, but I think they've been fair so far.
How many other companies are out there? I mean, should we be doing our due diligence or doing a review or getting other bids or?
If you remember, we paid thousands and thousands of dollars to go through the RFP process previously, so I'm not really, looking to recommend that again at this point. Just due to the time commitment and the cost to do that. And quite honestly, like I said, you'll be hearing, that they've actually been doing a very good job from the security end, of things, with that, risk assessment that we, are just wrapping up.
I'm not, in terms of going out, it may be worth it in 3 to 4 years. I just don't know if after 2 or 3 years you wanna take it out again, knowing that usually those are more intensive processes.
Right, no, and I'm not doubting that, I understand you guys like working with them a lot, and any interaction that I've had with them has been very good. I just don't like that, and there's not a defined.
And it's something that we could go back and say, you know, we would like to see a contract with more defined terms that we can look at, or match up so that if you wanna raise our rates, it's a 60-day thing, so we can agree to get out before the rates increase.
Well, just sign a 1-year contract with us, it's not that complicated.
Is it because Microsoft at any time could come through and raise that rate?
And that could be another thing. I mean, so Ken works with them a little more closely than I do. I mean, if they basically are passing on stuff to us from Microsoft, if Microsoft decides to raise their rates, then I suppose they have to turn around and raise our rates.
Well, is that for a licensing fee? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, usually like a per user seat license.
Yeah, but they've gotta do them at a certain time too. I mean, they don't have an open end, say, hey, we're gonna only charge you 300 this month, but 800 next month. I mean, that doesn't happen in that industry, does it?
Probably not to that extent, but no, it does happen. It does happen.
I mean, I guess,
I just don't know.
If you look at anything from internet to cable, a lot of times you'll get a letter in the mail saying your next bill's going up $5 type of thing, so.
They don't even do that.
Can you just get that clarified, and I think that.
Yeah, I mean, if the council wants to go, I can look at maybe getting the 60 days switched and switch to either a 1 or a 2-year contract.
Something like that.
That would be nice.
Okay. Is that a,
consensus?
Consensus from the council on that?
I'd feel better, yeah.
I don't have a problem with the company and I agree with, I just think that 60-30 day thing is a little awkward in there.
On their benefit.
Yes.
By the time the city council works, that 30 days where we're paying at the higher fee might become 2 or 3 months before we go through a bidding process and then find someone else to use because they could certainly raise the rate substantially.
And then them knowing that, I mean, they can really raise it, you know, and it's not that we're questioning their integrity, however, look, we get taken for every once in a while, and I don't wanna see that happen with them.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting any of that. I think they've shown themselves to be a great vendor for us, so I'm not saying they would do it. But we're responsible for the taxpayers' money, so that's.
So is that something, I guess, where you would maybe we'd go with, if they want 60-day termination, that we say, well, maybe we need a 90-day notice of price change, just so that we can have a city council meeting to decide whether we want in or out.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If they'll agree to that.
Yeah,
But I also know that not maybe a stretch, because they may say, well, Microsoft's gonna change on us, and we don't wanna have to absorb costs for that long, so.
Yeah, I mean, but the same thinking for why they've done so good to us, it shouldn't matter to them if that's, their history has shown they don't have rapid price changes. So.
I'd like to, and look at it from the reverse, that they could come to us and say, you know what, hey, we just took these additional charges on for Microsoft and we're asking to pass those on to you. I mean, I'd entertain that, but then it gives us the ability to say, yes, okay, we'll do it. as opposed to them just raising the rate and then running with it for
Mm-hmm.
3 months without asking anybody, so.
Yep, that's easy enough.
Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the credit card policy update.
On April 18th, I initially presented the credit card use policy for your review, seeking approval. We had some discussion and some updates were made after seeking guidance from the attorneys at Kennedy and Graven. One of the clarifying questions was if it should apply to contracted staff. So section 1, we did update the second sentence to include contract or temporary staff. And temporary staff would be for folks that are using a fuel card and seasonal, not full-time benefited. So the attorney's office had no concerns about including folks that actually need to use the credit card to do the work, whether it's contracted employee or
Seasonal.
permanent, regular. We also added under authorized users, we spoke about it, just needed to add fire chief. Same with section 2, adding fire under there as well, and golf for fuel card.
Good. Any questions for Robin? If not, I'd take a motion to approve this credit card use policy.
So move. Second. Oh.
Whichever way you wanna do it. We
I-
should raise our hand.
No, that, I wouldn't see that either.
Dwayne's gonna call it. What is it?
Bruce and Sean. I heard you first. Bruce made the motion, Sean seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the 2022. That must be, supposed to be 2024 audit
I was gonna say, is that
services.
in
Correct, it should be
2022?
22 through 24.
On the memo, it's right. On the
Yes.
agenda, it's wrong.
So after working with Abdo this year, they presented us with a 3-year proposal to continue services. Discussing with staff and city administrator, we thought that their increase was fair, a 6% in the first year and then 2% for the years following afterwards. Abdo's had and maintained a successful working relationship with staff that are involved with the audit, and I feel do a fair job presenting to council and explaining things thoroughly. So we feel like together between the city staff and Abdo staff that the time and effort put in on everybody's part has achieved a process that's beneficial to both sides for a positive and effective working relationship. So some of us newer staff, like myself, know kind of the burden of time when you change audit firms, trying to reestablish history, and the efficiencies that are already there of Abdo being able to have the history developed, having prior year work papers. So.
And it's not always the same reporting sometimes.
Right.
Been through that and it's cumbersome.
Move to approve?
Okay, there's a motion to approve Abdo. Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, surplus, the safe.
Back in April, the council gave me approval to sell a few of the city items that are not being used. One of those items was the safe. So we put it on social media and the city website for 7 days, and we received one bid of $40. After talking to, it actually was a local resident, after talking to that local resident, his plan, he already has a locksmith lined up to try to fix the lock and everything, and kind of restore the history of it, kind of get it back in order, so it's kind of a cool story to hear, and hopefully that works out, so looking for a approval to sell the safe for $40.
So moved on the conditions they pick it up.
We figured we'd have you move it. We actually already told him you
I'm
would,
gonna
so.
pull it with my wheelchair.
Yeah.
Down the
Is
street.
there a second?
Talk about my wheelchair.
I'll second. I just have a quick question, cause it's really a good looking safe. I mean, it looks, what, do we know how long that goes back?
I do not. I know, well, Dwayne, I think, told
This
me
is
more
what-
history than I even knew.
This is what Mel Stucker said. It came out of the old city hall before they built this building,
Okay.
okay? And then it sat down in the street department for all those years. And Mel kept maps in there and stuff. He had the combination for it. And then one day we were looking through it. I was working for the city and we found a pack of blasting caps in there. So we called the Bloomington Bomb Squad and they came down and picked them up. But it's just been, that was, and I think back in the days it got used more because that was the only record for like Mel in them years, you know, he kept all his big maps in there and stuff for the city, so. But it was the original, the one out of the city hall that replaced, or this building replaced.
Where is it now, in City Hall?
No, it's the Public Works shop.
Oh,
It's
okay.
been there since I've been here.
Yeah, it's been moved a few times.
I'd like to see it in person.
Yeah, it's neat, it's, it gets heavy.
So it's gotta be at least 100 years old, is it?
Oh, it's over 100, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they don't make them like that anymore.
You know, this one
Almost as old
reminds,
as you.
this one reminds me of the safe that used to be in Rinda Hardware.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay,
I made the motion.
okay, Sean made a motion, seconded by,
Sure.
okay. By Rick, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, before I take at H here, I'll give you guys a list of the, committee, appointments, but you were going to check, there was a set of verbiage in my old city, there's a set of verbiage in your old city for alternatives on these committees.
Correct.
Did you do that?
So I did look into it, talked to Scott Riggs. He said the state of Minnesota has never put anything in place that allows it. He said he's worked with cities that have also requested or wondered if they could put board alternates on anybody. And he said, as far as he can tell, nothing in the state of Minnesota would actually allow it. I know the city that I did it for that worked, it was actually in the state of Colorado.
Oh,
So
see, I did it right in Minnesota too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was right over in
Yeah, I guess he
Washington.
advised against it because he didn't know if, because of the state language, if it happened that enough alternates were on, that you didn't have a quorum, would any decisions actually stand if someone challenged them? And he recommended that right now that wouldn't be allowed, or he'd recommend against doing it.
I'll take that advice. Okay, H is, the committee appointments, will be as followed. Golf Board is Jen Berglund, Bob Cuniff, and, Dan Gardner. Parks Board is Joe Barden, Christine Wolf. Utilities is Tom Ewert and, Dan Volek.
No, not Dan. There's only one.
So it'd be the people with
You
the
gave me a piece of paper, my friend.
people with the stars next to them.
Yeah, Dan didn't have a star next to it.
My fault.
But
Oh, okay.
It's a,
It's scribbled in on the side.
so those are the recommendations that we came up with. Is there any discussion or otherwise I take a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
And just to make sure I understand, there's no planning, or we have a vacancy in
Correct.
planning then?
We have a vacancy in planning and one and I think on the park board plus a student rep on the park board yet vacancy. Or was that just the student?
It's the student,
Okay,
which, yeah, anybody that's got any, juniors, through senior, we need a student to sit on the Parks Board.
yep.
can you read those golf ones again, just so I can make note of them?
Which ones?
The golf board ones with the stars next to them.
Okay, Golf Board will be, Jen Berglund, Bob Cuniff, and, Dan Gardner.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want that sheet back with Maggie's
You can have
stars?
it back.
Okay.
sorry.
Sorry, Bruce.
Who's not coming back on the planning?
Paul Tupi isn't.
Oh, Paul is.
He was gonna renew and everything, and I talked to him the other day when he came over, and he just said business is just
Too busy.
too busy.
Sure, good,
So,
good for him.
yep,
That was awesome.
and he says, that doesn't mean he's totally out, he said, you know, maybe years down the line, so. Okay, now we're at the
One
end
quick
of the-
thing, it looks like, well, I'm confused by this, cause there's a star next to Jerry Brown, but his name is also crossed out.
You did,
This was sheet with some Maggie.
okay, we might not have figured that out.
Oh, but he, crossed that out, yep,
Oh, okay.
that's right, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, miscellaneous. Rick, do you have anything?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. One resident, I had a very busy week, so it's like I was exposed to a lot of residents, and there was quite a few. But one of the elderly people over at on Phillips Square wanted to ask you guys about a crossing for it would be on the First Avenue Northwest, right at Second, right on the corner down here. It's just getting to the point, you know, when people come through, you know, there's more people in town, I suppose, they come through, but they kinda hightail it from there to here, you know. So he had asked about that, so I told everybody I'd bring it up tonight, so.
Which intersection, Rick?
It would be right on First Avenue Northwest and Second Street,
Oh, at the four-way stop there, huh?
just right down in the corner there by the apartments, you know where.
Going north and south, east and west.
Yeah, First and First, is that what it is? Is that what?
Well, this is First and First right here. First and Second, it would be the four-way
Four-way
stop.
stop.
Yep, no, it would be the other one, it's the one right down at the end of the street, First and First. And then the second thing, some of the elderly over at the ceremony on Saturday, had asked, you know, why don't we have more benches so when people are walking around, they can sit down? I mean, my answer was, right now we're switching over the picnic tables to aluminum, tables, and, we can have the Parks Board take a look at that idea, coming up.
Just in parks or along trails
It
or?
was along the, they were talking about along the park there, it was the people at the ceremony. The trails too, I've noticed that they're very sparse.
The gentleman that came up to me there mentioned Memorial Park.
Yep, that's where they were talking. But like I say, they're pretty sparing along the trails too, so. I don't know if we could see if there's we could do something in Memorial Park and then see if there's a standard that's set by the state or something, this spacing on them in the trails and stuff, so I don't know.
We have a park board tour tomorrow, with the park board, and we'll talk about that.
Okay. That's all I got.
Bruce?
A couple miscellaneous things, I guess, just for my own education, when Chris was talking about the capital improvement plan, then after that's, the next part of it's done, we're pretty much left to maintenance only. Do we have a maintenance schedule that's similar to that, going out into the future? Do we plan like that?
So we don't have exactly set roads for what we consider maintenance. Maintenance in the future is like mill and overlays.
Yeah.
We kind of know what area will be. It'll be like south of High V. That's the area we'll probably be starting and working our way to the southeast. That area was done in like 2000, 2021. Sorry, 2000 and 2001. So that's the area when it hits that 20 to 25 year mark is when you start looking at mill and overlays.
So do you have a schedule to show which streets will go into the next future? Or
we do not have that scheduled yet. You know, that's 4 to 5 years out. We're not that far out yet. But that will be happening very soon.
Okay.
a lot can change on those streets year by year, but.
So if we're concluding this capital improvement plan with this, when is the next time we would do that kind of exercise again to have a new capital improvement plan for streets?
So we kind of just updated this one within the last couple months, I would say. So that phase probably would happen the next year or so to prep 3 to 4 years out. But we've already talked that.
There is none.
What's that?
My understanding, there is none after this 2024.
No, there is nothing on paper yet. We've talked without putting it on paper, but we've already talked that 25, 26, 27 will be that area. What streets exactly? We have to survey those streets to see what kind of condition they're in.
Oh, the overlay will be part of the capital improvement plan?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know, trying to understand. Is
It'd
it
be
just
real
major
similar to that
construction or
2019
overlays
project.
in that too? Okay.
Yeah, so the hope would be that the major construction is put on hold for quite a while now. I know the stuff we're putting in the ground, they're saying 60, 70, 80. Who knows how long it's gonna last? So, especially underground stuff, none of us may be around to ever see that stuff get replaced again in large quantities that we've been able to put in the ground.
Any update on our ash borer, or did I miss it?
They've still not sent us our contractor agreement yet from the DNR.
Have they announced it?
No.
Oh, so we don't even know.
Well, we know we can't publicly acknowledge that.
I don't
so
say anything.
I can't say much more.
Okay.
But no, we have not seen that yet.
Okay.
I will check on it though. I don't know what the holdup is, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Hey, just-
right now they're eating away.
Yep.
Just one thing I can follow up with you guys on that capital improvement. You know, we had talked about, and I'm not sure whether it was when you were here or Glenn was here, those roads that are all down by the, park down there, you'll notice all of them are kind of busted up and, full of holes. And I'm wondering, why did it happen just down in that area? And
What park?
right down at the one down at the end there, down at the end of all these streets.
Oh, Greenway.
All these
Greenway
streets
Park.
you drive on, Matt, there's a park down there, they end.
Yeah. They're busted up.
You're talking about the trails in Greenway Park.
No, I'm talking about the streets, the actual streets.
Oh, the actual streets.
And then somebody went and tried to fill them in at one time, and they did a really poor job because the moisture got in there, and so it busted that out. So if you go down to them streets at the end, right by the alley, you'll see that they're all rocky and holy and busted up. And that was supposed to be looked at. I don't know. It's been so hectic these last 3 years, I can't even remember.
It's in this that we just approved tonight.
It is in there.
Yep.
By Greenway?
I just want to revisit, or at least get understanding again, this tax bond thing with Jeff and that whole issue. They came to the city and requested our participation in it, and
Yes.
did we go to our financial advisor at that time and
Yes, so
talk
they,
about a fee that we normally wouldn't charge? Or?
yes, they came to us requesting $4 million in tax-exempt bonding. At the time, Robin and I knew nothing about this sort of venture, so first people we talked to were Baker Tilly just to see if they had ever experienced or worked with it. We were told that they in fact had worked with it, and it was pretty common for cities to charge a fee of some sort, whether due to our legal costs we'd have to take on or the continued reporting over the life of the bond, which I think in this case would be 20 years is what they were looking at. So after kind of talking through them, it was determined that a 1% fee wasn't out of the question, just knowing the costs over the next 20 years that we would have to incur. And so we did go back to them and said, if you're willing to pay an administration fee of $40,000, I think we'd be willing to look at this, because according to Baker Tilly, there was really no liabilities on us as a city. And I'm still not sure how that works since our name would be on it, but that's what we were told. And Cassia told us they were not interested in paying a fee that high, and that's when they went. And I believe talked to the village of Landfall, or Landfall Village, and must have gotten the amount that they previously requested of us. At a much lower rate, I'm assuming.
We haven't charged that kind of fee with anyone else, have we? I don't think.
We haven't, but we've never gone through a process like this, like you'd said.
Tax increment?
Or
No, this is for the conduit financing.
This is for the conduit financing that they were, or the bond that they were requesting to put our name on, but somehow not have a liability attached to us.
Right, my point was that we didn't charge the first purchaser when we, helped with tax increment or other tax increment financing packages.
No, but
The city
that, but,
hasn't charged that kind of fee before.
no, but that also, they weren't requesting, tax-exempt bonding through us. The first people, it sounds like, went through a TIF process, and we charged a fee that was probably pretty similar to if anyone would ask TIF now, or if they'd go through that, but, the tax-exempt bonding is a little bit separate issue, where, like I said, I think it was estimated we'd almost pay almost $10,000 in legal fees to run through all of the documents to make sure the city had everything squared away, and then a continued reporting and legwork that we would have to do as a city every single year that we wanted to, every single year until the bond was paid off.
The point I'm trying to make, Josh, is that in other tax increment financing the city of New Prague has participated in, I'm not familiar that they've charged a fee for that. As an example, the Church of St. Wenceslas or some other ones in the past. So the fact that it's tax exempt financing, I'm just not aware that we've charged fees. So this is the same kind of thing. Their package is a tax increment. Tax exempt financing that they're looking for.
Yeah, so we do have TIF fees. If they were applying for new TIF, we've got fees laid out in our bonds, in our schedules that we would charge for that. But we have not ever charged fees for tax exempt bonding because it's not something we as a city's ever been requested of us before.
For the bank qualified.
For like the bank qualified bonds. So it's a little bit different than what they're asking for tonight. Where they mentioned that they were getting bonding through Hampton and Landfall Village, and that we would be acting as the host city. Had we gone through and they would have agreed to our request of a $40,000 administrative fee, they would have come not only asking us to be a host city, but also to participate, probably instead of Landfall Village, to be able to offer up that tax exempt bonding. And I guess it was Baker Tilly's recommendation to us that it's very common for cities to charge a fee. In fact, from what we've heard, both of these cities are charging a fee, but they're less than half of what we requested of them. And like I said, our fee request came kind of talking to Baker Tilly a little bit, as well as trying to figure out what it would be cost to the city, because we didn't want it necessarily to cost taxpayers down the road for us going into this process, even if we didn't have liabilities on the bonds themselves.
Yeah, I guess I would want to think about that. The tax exempt nature of it is to promote certain things that we want to encourage in the community. So in this, it's already been built, but there's still a desire, I guess, from the state of Minnesota to support in the city to support this kind of housing, and that's why it qualifies as tax exempt. So there's a reason for this city to be involved in it. That let's say they wouldn't find someone else to do it. I mean, this case, this scenario, they did find someone else to do it. I just want to make that comment that I think there's reasons for us to do it, even if we didn't get the fee, and we have done things without charging fees for purposes that help support low income or housing or things like this, or specifically this where it's memory and some of those other issues. The cost for tax, the TIF part of it, we still have those administrative expenses, whether it's this company or the next one, if they're assigning it. I guess we don't know the answer to that if we're still running with it. So I'm not sure what the ongoing additional expenses are. We do have the bond audit, that's true.
I know with TIF, generally we charge a small fee up front basically for some of the work that we put in. And then the idea with general reporting down the road is once that TIF is lifted off, we're gonna see a levy increase. And so we'll make up our funds on the back end here. Whereas, like you said, doing this would basically be supporting the fact that we are okay with Cassia purchasing Praha Village and want to see it continue. I guess I was looking at it more from a finance side, that I didn't know if I wanted to hamstring our services basically for the next how many years of reporting and having us carry that burden.
I understand that, but that it's the same whether, if they didn't sell it, we'd still have those same bond expenses all the way through for the next 25 years or whatever.
We would have TIF reporting expenses, but we wouldn't have the tax exempt bond Because we didn't go through the tax-exempt bonding process with them when it was built. We just went through the TIF process.
Yeah, I think it was private financing in this case.
Otherwise, we would be listing it
Yeah.
as a action in 2020.
We would see it basically on our bonds that we are currently carrying, even though we don't have a liability for it. We'd have to report it.
So does anybody from our staff gotta be there when they close?
It doesn't sound like it, but I can run that all by legal and make sure we got a better
Yeah,
handle
so
on
they,
that.
they don't request that, is there a clear deed or anything like that as far as we're concerned?
I'm sure Cassia has their own legal people that, you know, obviously done a Alta survey to make sure that buildings aren't crossing property lines and that whole end of things, so, and they, sure they have title commitment, but nothing we're a party to.
Are you guys in the least curious on why the owner that's been around for 3 years decided to sell it?
That was always the plan.
Was it?
I didn't know it would happen maybe this quick.
I know, I guess, obviously I haven't worked here long. I know in the communities I've worked in where apartments are built, it seems like regardless of what style they are, within 5 years they get sold. And those people then use those funds to build more apartments. So everyone kind of seems to live within a certain life cycle of an apartment building.
From my understanding, Cassia provides contracted services to them already. So I think it's a smooth transaction. I don't know if from the start that was kind of a plan to say whoever would take contracted services. But Cassia already has involvement with Praha Village.
Is it something to do with nursing, or I don't understand their connection?
I'm
Yeah,
sure
like,
it does.
They're the operator of
Are
the
they?
facility.
Mark Applebaum just was the owner.
Yep.
Well, I think Cassie is a new name, though. What was the previous entity?
It was Augustana.
Augustinus, was it? Yeah.
But,
Yes.
yeah, Mark Applebaum's always been the owner, developer, and then they've been the operator.
So they're just buying it.
I don't know if Mark is, like Josh is alluding to, maybe he's gonna develop new projects. Obviously, the Rosemont was the first one he had done under his Mikado Group entity. Then he did New Prague. I don't know if they've got more they're doing or have done.
And I believe Cassia bought Rosemont too, didn't they?
Yes.
I wonder what price on something like that. Right now, I mean, because they're like tripled, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
The dedication went really well on Saturday. Very, very nice turnout, beautiful weather. And, a nice addition to the community, so that's all I have.
Are we gonna go over this stuff that was?
Yes, when it got around to me.
Oh, okay. When did we put the trophy case up? Where did we find that?
So that was offered, what was it? I think Ken got a phone call about a month ago, maybe a little over a month ago, from Dennis Dvorak, one of the businesses, the jeweler in town. Marquardt had it, and was looking to get rid of it for $500 or something like that. And so Dennis asked me if the city would be interested, and I said, well, I don't know if we would for $500. And apparently I played hardball enough, because pretty soon it was, well, would the city just take it? And so,
Nice.
and so I said we'd be willing to take it. You know, I would say obviously we would take ownership of it, but we've been in talks and still preliminary, but of looking to put together an application process. So whether the Historical Society or the Arts Council or the Boy Scouts wanted to basically have half of it for a month, they could kind of display what they wanted to in there, and then use the other half of it for displaying things like this ADA award or other awards that the city may have gotten at some point. So.
Our bond rating.
Our bond rating.
Okay, great. No, I like it. It looks great. It fits perfectly in that little spot.
It fits perfectly because Matt had to trim 5 inches
Oh,
off
did
of the counter there.
No, it looks good. So,
Chainsaw.
I was just curious. That was all I had.
Josh.
Okay, yes, a couple things. If you remember, I think it was at one of our visioning meetings, we talked about a way of potentially creating more space, because especially down in the community development side, we are out of space, and with a new person coming on here in 2 weeks, I think we'll be able to get creative, but we're basically moving a printer out of a dingy corner to a dingier corner to make space for this new person. We talked to Steve Rinda about some just really rough estimates on what we could do upstairs here in terms of splitting the break room into an office 1 and office 2. And then now that we've got all the equipment out of the kitchen, turning the kitchen into a break room. And those are kind of the rough sketches I've got before you here. The real difference between them is where the hallway would be put to get over to office 2. In the roughly $10,000 estimate, the hallway would kind of be in where the break room is right now, which would create a 13 by 12 foot office and a 16 by 12 foot. In the $20,000 estimate, that hallway would be in what is now the kitchen and would maintain 2 16 by 12 foot offices. The thought would be that both Ken and I would move up here if that were the case, and then Ken's office would be taken by our building official and would give him the ability to close his door. And then my office, we would put a small cubicle dividing wall, and we'd be able to fit both the building inspector and the planner in there, and that would just kind of open up more space down there so there's not everyone piled on top of each other. That was really what I was looking at. I know a couple different funding options I was looking at. We currently have money set aside for City Hall repairs of about $47,000. We also have about $1.5 million set aside for a future City Hall. And then we also have CARES funding, which I think is still sitting at about $880,000 after we did those server upgrades at the beginning of the year. That came out to be about $35,000.
Could you say that last part again? We have leftover CARES funding that was.
Well, I guess CARES, so the ARPA funding, the ARPA funding.
We haven't used any of that yet.
We voted back in was it January or December, to use 35,000 of that to go towards server upgrades across the city to be able to handle a lot of our IT stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 890 or something left.
Yeah, there's 880,000 still of that left.
The CARES money, has that all been, you don't know the answer yet.
So the CARES money I was actually fascinated with, because I thought I was trying to figure out ways to spend it before they took it away from me at my old job. But it looks like you guys put all of your CARES money towards police salaries, which then freed up how you used it, and I believe you spent it all at this point, or what hasn't been spent has been earmarked for a project that just hasn't happened yet. Is that right, Ken?
Yeah, I guess the earmarking was my question. We had earmarked and there's some left. I thought some was for testing the ventilation system or something.
We did that. That was completed.
It was? So it would be nice to have an update on those earmarks if there's still some left in the earmarks. Or if it's all spent now.
Of CARES, it's spent.
Yeah, it's all spent. Yeah,
All the earmarks?
I think all that's done.
There was a carryover from last year, I thought, so, okay.
What was that total that we kind of washed the money by using it for police salaries and then took money out of their budget that we had budgeted for that?
300 and.
Yeah, it was 300 something. That's what I was gonna say. Wasn't 180 of that for the computer upgrade? And
I'd have to look at it. It's been a while. Yeah, somewhere around there.
can we get that? I'd like to see just how we spent that 330. I just want to make sure that we.
Yeah,
I'm sure we can email it.
Yeah, we can get. I can get that, so it's in your guys' packet next week. It's just like an informational sheet. We can discuss it then if you want.
Okay, and then maybe an update on the ARP money too.
Yep, we're exactly dollar we stand with the ARPA money. Yep.
Okay.
So I guess, do you guys have any thoughts, or, I know looking at these, so right now, both Ken and my office are exactly the 16 by 12 and a half. It would basically just be moving our offices upstairs. I think that's my current lean, even though it's about $10,000 more, only because it would allow us to put a small table in both of our offices. That way, we are short on meeting space within the city, and it would give us the ability to sit down and actually meet in our offices with people. Instead of having the one conference room that we currently have. So that would be my lean, but I do also understand that who knows how long we'll be in the city hall. Maybe it'll be another 20 years, maybe it'll be 5.
Yeah, I'd like to see that money sit. I don't want to spend that yet.
How many people use the break room? I mean, if we use that.
So that was kind of the original thought with this, because I believe we used to have, I knew 2 people that used it, and one of those people no longer works for the city. So we may have one person who kind of uses the break room on a consistent basis, which is my original thought of moving it out of the much larger room into the kitchen as we freed up that space. I don't know if we have a significant number of employees. We'll occasionally use the break room when we have, like a staff appreciation. I know the department heads hosted all the staff here at City Hall for administrative assistant appreciation day and that sort of thing, but that's about the most use it probably gets at this point.
So eating up that for the hallway on the $20,000 estimate won't.
I don't think
put a
that'll
crimp
affect
in
it.
anybody's lunch program or anything. I mean, they don't need that extra space.
No, I don't think so. I mean, not unless, I guess someone's doing yoga or something and they really like that corner. I only say that because I used to do yoga over lunch.
I recommend a $10,000 one.
Well, you guys feel you need the space that
Like I said, I like the space. I know we
I like
actually,
spending less money too, Rick, but if they need the space and if you're gonna
we
utilize it-
recently obtained actually a pretty nice conference table that Matt had his guys move around a couple times, as heavy as it is. And so, I think the idea would be with the larger space, we'd be able to split that table in half actually and put half of it in each office for a small meeting space for both of us, when need be. So that would be a preference. I don't know if we did the $10,000 option, if we'd be able to fit a table in there once you kind of get the desk
In
and
that
stuff.
one.
Into office one. But
that's Ken's office, so.
oh, that would be Ken's. I mean,
So just the addition of that wall there and then matching the carpet is an extra $10,000.
so according to Steve, and he said these were really rough numbers for us. The real expense would be that matching the carpet into there and then actually cutting a door into the current wall is where a lot of that cost would be. He said with the other one, you're just building out and framing out the doors, not actually having to cut into existing walls for the doors.
But you and Ken would like the bigger offices.
So
That's your choice, would be to go for that. So
Yeah,
you could put the meeting table in there and have.
Correct. That would be our option, and solely for the reason of being able to fit the meeting tables, small meeting tables in each office.
Can we have Steve give us a more accurate number on that, on the bigger one?
Yeah, we do that.
Number two, I'd like to take a look at that. Maybe it won't be 20,000, maybe it'll just be. But if we're gonna do it, I think we should do it right. If they need the space,
If they really need it, yeah.
I don't wanna
I'm
run
just,
into another
I'm just
situation.
saying, I mean,
We're-
he's got no hair
No,
and
we
he
gotta
don't
cut
really need
something else.
two things in the office. It's not like he's gonna be washing his hair in there.
Hey, this is a maintenance-free look, and I enjoy it. Now I've got one more thing. I actually just got an email here during the meeting. So it looks like a bill is going through the House right now, that would increase funding for LGA by $34 million. Which, should it pass, would increase the amount to New Prague by about $50,000 for next year. What is currently being proposed for New Prague. And so I guess I just wanted to see what the council's thought was on me sending a letter of support to the House for that.
Are they changing the calculation?
It looks like they're just adding funding to it from what I was reading real quick while trying to maintain paying attention. And you guys all might have gotten, if you get emails from the league, email likely came through for you as well, so.
I certainly support it if there's not
That's your
changes to
recalculation.
how they make the sausage, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Strings
well,
attached.
I guess if you wanna attach that to it, I can do a little more digging, and if they're changing the calculation, I can not send it. If they're just adding money to it, then I can send a support letter.
Yeah, no, then not only that, but ask them what the other 9.4 billion of our
Yeah.
money, when we're only getting 34 million
There's only
to
7
the
left.
cities. Yeah.
There's only 7.
Oh, that's
there's
true.
only
Yeah,
7
so they've already spent some, that's right.
A lot of it went to workers' comp.
Oh, don't even go on. Don't even wanna talk about it.
Okay,
How nice of them.
yeah, really.
34 million out of that.
I don't know why they just all don't
The
drink
cities.
some poison Kool-Aid and get it over with.
That's all I've got.
Ken, yeah,
I'm gonna tag team one with Matt, so he'll take the lead on that one.
okay.
I don't have anything.
Bruce,
I have nothing.
chief,
Nothing.
oh, this is, Okay, Matt.
All right. So just in front of you, there's an updated mowing map. And the only reason we're
This was
bringing-
Matt's idea.
We talked about it. I think it got brought up, the sidewalk routes, why we plow certain sidewalks. While we sat down and talked about that, we thought, hey, this is the time we should tackle this mowing map that has not been looked at for forever. Seems like we just add stuff to it. We've never had a rhyme or reason why certain things were done, I would say. So me, Ken, and the parks supervisor sat down, kind of went through all the map, and we ended up eliminating a lot of stuff. And the only reason, again, we're bringing it to you is because a lot of the areas that are being eliminated have been done by the city for quite a while. But they're road right away, like from Holiday to the east, that whole road right away from the sidewalk to the back of the curb. The city has always cut that. We don't know why that has ever happened, and there's really no reason it should be happening because it's no different than any other business that has road right away that we're not cutting it. So we're eliminating all of that pretty much from Holiday to the east. So the road right away, like I said, sidewalk to the back of the curb, and then also there's some areas on 11th Avenue Northwest that we eliminated. It ended up being a total of about roughly 15 acres is what we ended up eliminating. So the plans are to send out a letter in the next day or two to all the business owners that are going to be affected by this to let them know these are the changes. It's your responsibility to be cutting your grass. Again, we're just bringing it up to you just in case someone reaches out to you guys saying, what is going on? So you're not blindsided, but I have no idea what's happening. So that's what's going on kind of on this map, and that's why you're looking at a random mowing map.
Didn't we just hire somebody though in the department to help with the mowing and stuff, and now we're cutting that back?
Full-time help does not do pretty much any cutting, very little cutting. That's all done by seasonal help.
Oh, it is, okay.
We have 2 seasonal help that, so their hours, so we bought a bigger lawnmower a couple years ago, you remember, that actually cut those guys' hours even, from like 30 hours a week down to like 25 hours a week. So eliminating these will just eliminate some of the seasonal help. But again, full-time help, they do a little bit of cutting, but not much at all.
Okay.
And I think the idea was too, by bringing on that full-time person, we'll be hiring less seasonal anyway. Plus, I know Matt was saying that there's more upkeep we can do on the ball fields and whatnot, and we can actually put a little more time into our fields to make sure, maintain them a little nicer grade by not having to mow in front of the strip mall there and all the way down in front of Coburn's and that sort of thing, so.
Matt, has the letter been drafted?
We have a drafted letter, yes. Nothing's been mailed out.
I'm just wondering, does it talk about the fact that this is being done as a matter of fairness or consistency, so people know that it's not, that they're not something necessarily being taken away from them, we're just trying to be fair across the board?
Okay. Trying to be fair and equitable.
Okay,
for all
to reduce
property
the calls we might get.
owners. I don't know if they'll see it as fair and equitable.
And I guess it's something.
Having had it mowed by us for, however many years.
And I guess if you would like, I guess we could send you guys all the letter too, so that you guys can see exactly what people are getting, so if someone calls you, you can
that would
say
be
you've
nice.
seen the letter.
So what's the list of businesses, just off the top of my head? So,
So-
Fishtail,
Strip mall all the way down to Coburn's
Subway.
on the south side of Highway 19, Main Street, and then from Holiday down to Quick Trip.
Right there on the highway.
oh, just on Main Street, okay.
There will be some single-family homes along Conroe 29 into Tukalski Acres as well, though. Whole run from 10th over to city limits, on the very southeast corner of town. That's
Yeah, you better show us that letter.
But there's no business over there.
No businesses, but that's private property owners, residential homes.
There are a few still where we will be cutting what would be private property, but that's only because they are not annexed into the city. And so we really have no power over to enforce them mowing their strip. And so we will still mow that strip until.
And what border is that
those
on, past the
persons
dirt road?
That's confusing to me, what you just said.
So we have, especially, there's a spot up in the northeast section of town. What street is that?
7th Street northeast.
So on 7th Street, the north side of the street is not annexed into the city. And so if we don't mow it, then nobody's going to. And we have really no enforcement power since the property is not technically in the city. And so once that property annex is in at some point in the future, it'll then be their responsibility to start mowing it.
If we were to annex that road in, would that property be part of that?
We have just the road annexed in. So we have
We
to.
don't have the whole road annexed in, do we? That goes right down the middle of the road,
Which road
don't
are
it?
you talking about, Rick?
The dirt road right down there?
You're talking Alton?
Yep.
We don't have the full road.
No.
This is the center line there. But we don't have any mowing we're doing out along that road.
Oh, but I mean up where it begins by that roundabout? Is it all that stuff that way?
So you're talking about the Bezek property?
Bezek property.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
all right. Yeah, okay.
So are we still gonna mow that, or that's on the cut list?
So we would still mow that, only because otherwise nobody's gonna mow it.
Just so we don't have grass going down into the
Sure.
drive lane.
Okay.
So at some point, probably closer to the end of the summer, we'll come to you with our kind of final snow map too, with how we're gonna look at doing that. But like Matt said, since we're taking a look at the snow, we might as well take a look at the grass too and try to make sure what we're doing is fair for everybody.
Perfect.
Well, thanks for the heads up.
Yep. Always
Get
helps.
blindsided on that.
Chris, do you have anything? Okay. Well, I would take, oh, go ahead.
I forgot to ask, is there any updates on the ambulance negotiations?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so I sent them our terms and didn't hear back from anything for a while, and I did have a phone call with them last week, and it was about as expected. They were quite shocked. He said he was gonna provide financials to show that this is just not a profitable business at this point. And so he'll provide those to me. I don't know if they're gonna come now, or we have our annual meeting scheduled here for, I believe, the 26th of May, if he plans on presenting them at that point. But I know if he doesn't present them by that point, I kinda gotta move things along here, cause.
What was our change? What did we do?
So the idea was trying to bring their rent
Rent
more into a market rate, cause they're currently paying what amounts to about 33 cents a square foot. And industrial cold storage in Scott or LeSueur County will get you at least $2.50 a square foot. And we're providing them heated bays,
Sleeping quarters,
offices,
kitchen.
so we could probably get far more than
Showers.
we could probably get far more than $2.50, but I'm just trying to get it closer to $2.50 a square foot over the course of 5 years, which is amounting to quite a. I mean, it looks like sticker shock on the sheet when you're looking at it, but.
The financial information they provided before has not shown a loss, so I'm not sure what they're.
Not as far as I've seen, so I don't know. Like I said, he said he was gonna provide some information to kind of back up their theory on that, so. But that was really the big change in
Okay.
that.
So it's being worked on actively.
It is being worked on at this point.
Okay. Anything else good for the order? Otherwise, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Is there anything we should know about the computers?
Yes.
Okay.